April 9, 2019, New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets first baseman Pete Alonso, 20, watches the flight of his solo home run against the Minnesota Twins during the 7th inning at Citi Field. Mandatory credit, Brad Penner. USA Today Sports. Brad Penner, Mets walloped by Twins. 0 hours 0 minutes and 56 seconds. New York Mets pitcher Jacob deGrom knows he didn't have his best stuff against the Twins, takes blame and ready to move on to his next start. It has been a while since Jacob deGrom had an outing like he did Tuesday night at Citi Field. The Mets ace struggled against the Twins, allowing 6 runs in 4 innings on 8 hits and a walk in a 14-8 loss, snapping a 26-game quality start streak, one shy of breaking the record set by Hall of Famer Bob Gibson in the 1967-68 seasons, yet it was letting his team down that was eating away at deGrom after the game. April 2, 2019, Miami, Florida, USA. New York Mets starting pitcher Jason Vargas, right, talks with catcher Wilson Ramos, left, near the pitcher's mound in the 5th inning against the Miami Marlins at Marlins Park. Mandatory credit, Steve Mitchell. USA Today Sports. Steve Mitchell, every time Jason Vargas steps on a mound, Dallas Keuchel becomes more appealing to the Mets. How could that not be the case, even when Vargas is only pitching for an inning, as he did in the 9th of Tuesday's 14-8 loss to Minnesota? His inability to fool hitters is evident. Alonso homers twice versus Twins. 0 hours 0 minutes and 37 seconds. New York Mets had a rough loss to the Twins Tuesday night, but saw Pete Alonso, Michael Conforto and Brendan Nimmo all homer. Jacob deGrom did not have it, and the Mets dropped their second straight game in a 14-8 loss to the Minnesota Twins on Tuesday at Citi Field. Greater than box score. 6 things to know about Tuesday's game. 1. Jacob deGrom had the chance to extend a couple record tonight at Citi Field. The Twins had other plans. deGrom was mortal tonight as he allowed 6 runs on 8 hits, including 3 homers, over 4 innings. Mitch Garver was the man that broke his scoreless inning streak in the 2nd with a solo homer to center. Then, after a wild pitch scored Jorge Polanco in the 3rd, Eddie Rosario and Garver went back-to-back to make it 5-1 Mets. deGrom's MLB record consecutive starts allowing 3 runs or fewer was also capped at 31 straight tonight. Pete Alonso homers against Twins. 0 hours 0 minutes and 17 seconds. New York Mets rookie Pete Alonso becomes the 4th Mets rookie to homer in 3 straight games. The Mets may have been down, but Pete Alonso wasn't going to give up. The rookie sent his 4th homer over the right field fence, as you can see. He went deep later in the 9th as well, showing off that opposite field power. Brody Van Wagenen, Matthew Zeroni, MetsBlog.com. Brody Van Wagenen understands that image resonates over everything, which is why extending Jacob deGrom was an essential part of his vision for the future of the Mets. In a Sports Illustrated profile of Van Wagenen, the Mets GM explained that he laid out a plan to Fred and Jeff Wilpon that included locking up the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner long-term in an effort to rid a culture of negativity that seems to surround the franchise. "I think that most Mets fans wake up defeated," he said. "I wanted Mets fans to wake up with the belief that winning is the only outcome that they can expect." September 8, 2018, New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets third baseman Todd Frazier, 21, hits an RBI sacrifice fly against the Philadelphia Phillies during the 6th inning at Citi Field. Mandatory credit, Andy Marlin. USA Today Sports. Andy Marlin, among the things people expected to hear on Tuesday, Todd Frazier being an option for the Mets at shortstop was probably not high on the list. But here we are. Frazier, who will play 9 innings in a rehab game on Tuesday night, will spend 4 of those innings at shortstop, manager Mickey Callaway said before the Mets game at Citi Field against the Twins. According to Callaway, the Mets want to have that option of using Frazier at shortstop when he returns. And that could be soon, with the 33-year-old progressing since beginning his rehab assignment on April 2nd. He has been out since Feb. 26 due to a strained left oblique. Jed Lowry. Mark Flamini, SNY. Mets manager Mickey Callaway said Tuesday that he is very encouraged by how injured infielder Jed Lowry looks, adding that, "He looks great, he's moving around great." Callaway added that Lowry feels great hitting, and that there is definite progress there. However, Callaway is not yet ready to give a time frame for Lowry's potential return. April 3, 2019, Miami, Florida, USA. New York Mets starting pitcher Jacob deGrom, 48, prepares to deliver pitch in the sixth inning of the game against the Miami Marlins at Marlins Park. Mandatory credit, Sam Navarro. USA Today Sports. Sam Navarro. Jacob deGrom gets the ball to start a quick two-game set against the Twins at Citi Field on Tuesday at 7:10 p.m. On SNY. Mets notes the Mets have won 7 straight games against the Twins, which goes all the way back to 2010. deGrom is one of 4 pitches since 1893 to strike out 10 or more batters and not allow a run in each of his first 2 starts of the season. Pete Alonso is hitting .382 with 6 runs, 6 doubles, 3 homers, and 11 RBI so far this season. He hit his 3rd homer on Sunday. Michael Conforto has homered in back-to-back games. Edwin Diaz has converted all 4 of his save attempts so far. Click here to follow via SNY Game Day. How many home runs for Alonso? 0 hours 0 minutes and 54 seconds. Pete Alonso has started his rookie season on a tear. He's already hit 3 home runs. SNY asked fans how many they thought he'd hit in 2019. Pete Alonso has started his rookie season on a tear, already hitting 3 home runs. SNY asked fans how many they thought he'd hit in 2019. Mickey Callaway received criticism from fans and reporters this past Saturday morning when he revealed J.D. Davis would again be hitting cleanup, despite Davis entering the game with a .150 batting average. Wilson Ramos, who most critics felt should bat 4th, was pushed to hitting 5th, while Michael Conforto was dropped to batting 6th. Davis, who is said to have significant support in the front office, rewarded Callaway by hitting 2 solo home runs against Nationals starting pitcher Patrick Corbin, the first of which was the hardest hit home run in MLB this season, according to StatCast. The Amazing Life, from Way to NJ. 0 hours 2 minutes and 0 seconds. On the season premiere of The Amazing Life, presented by Coca-Cola, Todd Frazier tries to give teammate Brendan Nimmo some New Jersey style. On the season premiere of The Amazing Life, presented by Coca-Cola, Todd Frazier tries to give teammate Brendan Nimmo some New Jersey style. New York Mets manager Mickey Callaway takes out pitcher Zack Wheeler in the 5th inning against the Washington Nationals at Citi Field. Indo Cruz, USA Today Sports. There are ways to explain away Zack Wheeler's disappointing start to his season, from getting fastball happy in his first outing to being a bit out of whack mechanically at home Sunday, when he walked the ballpark. Furthermore, there were just enough good innings amidst the wreckage, featuring an electric fastball and solid secondary stuff, to believe that Wheeler could right himself quickly and begin living up to the high expectations he created with his spectacular second half in 2018. But as an NL scout who was at Citi Field on Sunday said, when I asked him on Monday to evaluate Wheeler's latest start, Keeping Up with Brody, 0 hours 5 minutes and 9 seconds. Steve Jelbs chats with Brodie Van Wagenen about his path to becoming the GM of the Mets on Keeping Up with Brody, presented by Verizon. SNY's Steve Jelbs chats with Brodie Van Wagenen about his path to becoming the GM of the Mets on Keeping Up with Brody, presented by Verizon. July 16, 2015, Toronto, Ontario, Cuba shortstop Yorbis Baroto, 35, is congratulated by manager Roger Machado, 61, after hitting a 2-run home run in the 8th inning against Nicaragua during the 2015 Pan Am Games at Ajax Pan Am Ballpark. Mandatory credit, Tom Scherbowski. USA Today Sports. Tom Scherbowski. The Donald Trump administration is seeking to overturn a Barack Obama-era deal between Major League Baseball and Cuba, the result of which would lead to it becoming harder for Cuban players to come play in the United States. According to NBC News, the decision that was made by the Obama administration said the Cuban Baseball League was not part of the Cuban government. Trump administration is attempting to reverse the decision by saying the league and government are intertwined. In a letter to the Treasury Department, obtained by ESPN's Jeff Passan, the Trump administration writes that a payment to the Cuban Baseball Federation is a payment to the Cuban government. Craig Kimbrell or Dallas Keuchel? 0 hours 0 minutes and 24 seconds. Both Craig Kimbrell and Dallas Keuchel remain unsigned. SNY asked Mets fans who they'd sign to help with Mets pitching. Free agents Craig Kimbrell and Dallas Keuchel both remain unsigned. SNY asked Mets fans who they'd rather sign to help with Mets pitching. If you've followed the Mets over the past decade or so, you're familiar with an identity common to nearly every season: the team features a world-class rotation and a lineup that doesn't score enough to support it. It's a pattern best personified by that famous game in 2015, when Eric Campbell and John Mayberry Jr. comprised the middle of the lineup while both batting around .170. But the roster has felt this way at least since the front office decided to build around arms like Matt Harvey, Jacob deGrom, Zack Wheeler and Noah Syndergaard. Watching these Mets through spring training and the first 9 games of the regular season, you sense an unexpected inversion of that formula. The deep lineup will score runs all year, and the team's chances at contending for a championship will hinge on whether it is able to pitch enough. February 25, 2019, West Palm Beach, FL, USA, New York Mets shortstop Andrés Giménez, 72, fields a ground ball in the second inning against the Houston Astros during a spring training game at FITTEAM Ballpark of the Palm Beaches. Mandatory credit: Jason Vinlove, USA Today Sports. Jason Vinlove, Danny Abriano, SNY.TV. Twitter. Every Monday, we'll be taking a look at how the Mets' top prospects, their MLB.com Mets top 10 rankings are in parenthesis, are faring. Andrés Giménez, SS, double of Binghamton, no. 2 ETA 2020. The 20-year-old Giménez, who is the Mets no. 2 prospect by default. MLB.com has not yet removed Pete Alonso's no. 1 prospect status, is viewed by most minor league experts as one of the best 50 or so prospects in baseball. Giménez has been one of the youngest players in each league he's played in during his climb to Double-A. He hit .282, .348, .432 with 28 stolen bases in 85 games last season for High A Street. Lucy before being promoted to Double-A, where he has opened this season with just 1 hit in 14 at-bats spanning 3 games. Zack Wheeler wild in 12-9 loss, 0 hours 0 minutes and 44 seconds. Zack Wheeler walked 7 and 4 in 2/3 innings. His outing was left a lot to be desired, but for manager Mickey Callaway it should be an easy fix. Zack Wheeler would like to move on from Sunday's start as soon as possible, but first, the righty assessed his performance during the Mets' 12-9 loss to the Nationals in rather harsh terms. "I was just off a little, mechanically," he said after the game. "But that doesn't mean I got to go out there and do what I did. It was just an embarrassing day for me and one of those that you just want to forget and look forward to the next start." Brandon Nimmo's start to 2019 has one of the happiest players in baseball feeling a little down. The Mets outfielder entered Sunday's game, an eventual 12-9 defeat for New York, 2 for 26 with 17 strikeouts over the first 8 games of the season. The slumping Nimmo was held out of the starting lineup against Max Scherzer and the Nationals, but manager Mickey Callaway inserted the 26-year-old as a pinch hitter as part of a double switch in the 5th inning. Nimmo flew out to center in the bottom half of that frame, but faced Scherzer again in the 7th. He worked a 2-0 count before lining a double to right field that plated Luis Guillorme. December 5, 2017, New York, New York, USA. 2017 Sports Illustrated Hope Award recipient and World Series champion with the Houston Astros, Carlos Beltrán at Barclays Center. Mandatory credit: Wendell Cruz, USA Today Sports. Wendell Cruz, one of the most successful players in recent Mets history, Carlos Beltrán, kept a close eye on the Mets' busy offseason that included several moves to bolster the bullpen and establish depth on the roster. And Beltrán likes how the moves have translated onto the field in the young season. "They're doing great. They're putting a good team together," Beltrán told Fox 58 Wolf TV on Sunday. I think that Robinson Canó, playing second base, Edwin Diaz as the closer, bringing Juris Familia back, signing Jacob deGrom. They have a good, solid ball club. Mets lose 12-9 to Nats. 0 hours 1 minute and 28 seconds. The Mets were once down 12-1 in the series finale against the Nats. They climbed their way back to 12-9, but that's as close as they got. Mets pitchers combined to walk 12 batters as they dug the team into a 12-1 hole. New York's offense erupted after that, helped by a terrible Nationals bullpen, but the late explosion fell short as the Mets lost 12-9 on Sunday afternoon at Citi Field in the finale of their three-game series. Greater than box score. 7 things to know about Sunday's Game 1. Zack Wheeler was shaky from the start of the game, and while he escaped the first inning unscathed, the Nationals dropped a 5 spot on him in the second inning with Wheeler unable to locate at all. That inning was especially ugly, with Wheeler walking a pair of batters, allowing a ground ball RBI single to Max Scherzer, and left fielder Jeff McNeil playing what would have been a sacrifice fly and the second out into a ground rule double by Adam Eaton that made it 4-0 Nats. October 16, 2018, Houston, Texas, USA. Houston Astros starting pitcher Dallas Keuchel, 60, delivers a pitch in the first inning against the Boston Red Sox in Game 3 of the 2018 ALCS Playoff Baseball Series at Minute Maid Park. Mandatory credit, Troy Tormina. USA Today Sports, Troy Tormina. The Mets have remained in continued contact with free agent starting pitcher Dallas Keuchel. SNY's Andy Martino reported on Wednesday, adding that the situation is worth watching. Now, we might know what it would cost for the Mets, or another interested team, to land Keuchel. Keuchel, 31, is reportedly seeking a one-year deal that will pay him more than the one-year, $17.9 million qualifying offer from the Astros he turned down during the offseason, or a long-term contract at a lower salary, according to Ken Rosenthal of Fox Sports. Rosenthal notes, though, that it's possible Keuchel, who he says is throwing 95 pitch simulated games every 5 days to get ready, doesn't get either of those requests. April 6, 2019, Phoenix, Arizona, USA. Arizona Diamondbacks third baseman Wilmer Flores, 41, bats against the Boston Red Sox during the third inning at Chase Field. Mandatory credit, Joe Campereale. USA Today Sports, Joe Campereale. The Mets have reshaped their roster over the last year and change, saying goodbye to some familiar faces, some beloved, some not, in the process. Every week, we'll take a look at how some of those former Mets are performing with their new teams. Wilmer Flores, Diamondbacks. Most Mets fans miss Wilmer, who the team non-tendered this offseason. So far for the Diamondbacks, Flores is hitting just .227, .292, .318 with no homers and 22 at-bats over 6 games. Ramos' RBI single makes it 5-2-1. 0 hours 0 minutes and 10 seconds after a Little League triple by Michael Conforto. Wilson Ramos stayed hot at the plate and drove him home to make it 5-1 in the second after a double by Michael Conforto and error on the Nats. Wilson Ramos stayed hot at the plate and drove him home to draw the Mets within 5-1 in the second inning. The Mets go for a series win against the Nationals when they wrap up their three-game set at Citi Field on Sunday at 1:10 p.m. on SNY. Mets notes the Mets, who have won 4 of their last 5 games, are going for their third straight series win to open the season. Pete Alonso leads all rookies in hits and doubles, and has tied for the lead in RBI. The Mets have scored 23 runs in the 7th inning or later this season, which is the second most in the majors behind the Dodgers, who have scored 24 runs in the 7th or later. Zack Wheeler has a 1.63 ERA in his last 8 starts at Citi Field, dating back to June 27, 2018. Click here to follow via SNY Game Day. Steve Mitchell. Mets manager Mickey Callaway spoke with reporters prior to Sunday's series finale against the Nationals at Citi Field. Here are the takeaways. Why is Brandon Nimmo struggling and what's the plan? Nimmo, who is getting the day off Sunday but will continue to do work, is hitting .077, .250, .077 with a league-leading 17 strikeouts in 8 games this season. So what's the deal? New York Mets catcher Travis d'Arnaud during spring training at First Data Field. Steve Mitchell, USA Today Sports. The Mets activated catcher Travis d'Arnaud from the injured list prior to Sunday's game at Citi Field against the Nationals, optioning catcher Tomas Nido to AAA Syracuse to make room on the 25-man roster. d'Arnaud, who has not played in the majors for roughly a year after undergoing Tommy John surgery, had been playing rehab games with High A Street, Lucy, where he went 2 for 7 with 1 walk in 2 games. With d'Arnaud back, the Mets are 2 players, Todd Frazier and Jed Lowry, away from being at full strength. Frazier, who has been out since Feb. 26 due to a strained oblique, has also been playing rehab games with St. Lucie and is expected to return soon. Lowry, knee, is a bit further away. Major League 2019 0 hours 0 minutes and 51 seconds on the 30th anniversary of the release of the famous baseball movie, Major League, the New York Mets audition for a 2019 reboot. Major League is celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, so SNY held an audition with some Mets players for a potential 2019 reboot of the movie. Ex-Mets pay visit to Citi Field. 0 hours 1 minute and 45 seconds. Former Mets Turk Wendell and Rick Reed share some of their Mets memories. Former Mets Turk Wendell and Rick Reed share some of their Mets memories. Mets put on power display. 0 hours 1 minute and 34 seconds. Mickey Callaway, Kean Broxton, J.D. Davis and Pete Alonso on the Mets win over the Nationals. Anthony McCarron, SNY.TV, Twitter, sure, there were pockmarks in the Mets' 6-5 victory Saturday. The $30 million setup man got walloped for 2 homers, the Mets blew 2 leads, and the new catcher was furious at himself for not being able to find a pass ball that led to a run. But the win over the Nationals showcased 2 Mets strengths, and we're not even referring to starting pitching. The Mets finally flexed their power, more than doubling their home run output for the season, and the club got major contributions from the non-household name portion of their roster. Mets power pass Nationals. 0 hours 1 minute and 28 seconds. J.D. Davis slugged a pair of HRs while Pete Alonso, Michael Conforto and Robinson Canó also went deep as the Mets edged the Nationals. 6-5 home run barrage broke out at Citi Field on Saturday, with the Mets and Nationals combining for 7 home runs, but it was a line drive single off the bat of Kean Broxton in the 8th inning that proved to be the difference in a wild, resilient 6-5 victory over the Nationals. Greater than box score. 5 things to know about Saturday's Game 1. All seemed lost for the Mets after Juris Familia blew an 8th inning lead, but the Mets jumped right back into the game in the bottom half of the inning with back-to-back home runs by Pete Alonso and Robinson Canó to tie the game back up at 5. It was Alonso's first Citi Field home run, and Canó's shot landed near the Shea Bridge to send his new fans into a frenzy. Alonso hits a bomb to center. 0 hours 0 minutes and 16 seconds. Pete Alonso delivers his first Citi Field home run to cut the Mets' deficit to 1. J.D. Davis was all over Nationals LHP Patrick Corbin, as he belted the MLB's hardest-hit home run to right center to put the Mets on the board first in this one, but he wasn't done, launching another no-doubter to left field to give the Mets the lead back. New York Mets starting pitcher Steven Matz delivers a pitch against the Miami Marlins in the first inning at Marlins Park. Steve Mitchell, USA Today Sports. The Mets are back in action Saturday afternoon as they look to bounce back from dropping their home opener when they take on the Nationals at 1:10 p.m. On SNY. Mets notes Wilson Ramos and Amed Rosario have each hit safely in all 7 games this season, which is also the 3rd longest hitting streak of Rosario's young career. The Mets have struck out at least 10 batters in 5 of their first 7 games, which is tied with the Brewers and Blue Jays for most double-digit strikeout games this season. Michael Conforto, who is batting 6th against the left-hander on Saturday, has 4 multi-hit games this season along with Ramos, which is tied for 3rd in the league. Click here to follow via SNY Game Day February 28, 2019. Jupiter, FL, USA. New York Mets starting pitcher Jason Vargas, 44, delivers a pitch against the St. Louis Cardinals at Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium. Mandatory credit, Steve Mitchell, USA Today Sports. Steve Mitchell. The Mets announced on Saturday that they are skipping left-hander Jason Vargas' next start in the rotation and will pitch Jacob deGrom in his spot on Tuesday against the Twins, followed by Noah Syndergaard on Wednesday. By skipping Vargas, it lines up deGrom and Syndergaard to continue to pitch on 5 days rest, one more day than usual, for the first month of the season, as they have several off days built into the schedule in April. deGrom has continued to look like his Cy Young Award self through his first 2 starts of the season thus far, allowing 8 hits and no runs while striking out 24 in 13 innings pitched. March 16, 2019, Jupiter, FL, USA, New York Mets second baseman Robinson Canó, 24, at-bat against the Miami Marlins during a spring training game at Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium. Mandatory credit, Steve Mitchell. USA Today Sports. Steve Mitchell. The Mets' early morning arrival hours before their home opener on Thursday has been well documented, but things took a turn for the worse, quite literally, for Robinson Canó, the left-handed slugger, who played 9 seasons in New York with the Yankees, got lost on his way home and did not get to sleep until around 5 a.m. ahead of the 1 p.m. game. According to Greg Joyce of The Post, Canó had checked into the Mets clubhouse at 3 a.m. following the team's flight back from Miami, and drove to his home from there, but apparently his GPS failed him and took him the wrong direction. Mets fans' journey to Citi Field. 0 hours 0 minutes and 44 seconds. New York Mets fans came from far and wide to experience the 2019 home opener at Citi Field. Here is one fan's journey taking the 7 line. New York Mets fans came from far and wide to experience the 2019 home opener at Citi Field. Here is one fan's journey taking the 7 line. Citi Field time-lapse. 0 hours 1 minute and 1 second. Watch Citi Field get ready for the 2019 New York Mets home opener. Check out 4 days of action in 60 seconds. Watch Citi Field get ready for the 2019 New York Mets home opener. Check out 4 days of action in 60 seconds. The Mets are still in touch with free agent starting pitcher Dallas Keuchel, SNY's Andy Martino reported Wednesday, noting that the situation is worth watching. But Keuchel isn't the only high-end free agent the Mets are still considering. By the way, they're keeping in touch with Craig Kimbrel too, Martino said Thursday night on Baseball Night in New York on SNY. But while the Mets are still in touch with Kimbrel, Martino explained why he feels the team signing Keuchel is more likely. April 4, 2019, New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets starting pitcher Noah Syndergaard, 34, pitches against the Washington Nationals during the first inning at Citi Field. Mandatory credit, Brad Penner. USA Today Sports. Brad Penner, on a day when he allowed but 1 hit over 6 innings and took a loss against the Nationals only because his sleep-deprived teammates couldn't muster any offense, Noah Syndergaard nevertheless sounded downright exasperated that he can't find the feel for his slider. And his once unhittable slider, the pitch that could take him back to the top of the mountain among Major League starting pitchers, right there with Jacob deGrom. Syndergaard even referenced a specific slider, and a rather famous one, that he threw in Kansas City 3 years ago at a seemingly unthinkable velocity, convincing everyone who saw it that he had multiple Cy Young Awards in his future. August 8, 2018, New York City, New York, USA. New York Mets right fielder Brandon Nimmo, 9, hits a 2-run double against the Cincinnati Reds during the 8th inning at Citi Field. Mandatory credit, Brad Penner. USA Today Sports. Brad Penner, Anthony McCarron, SNY.